Welcome to Next Chapter Audio, where we bring history's most fascinating stories to life. Today we're diving into the wild and tumultuous life of one of the greatest romantic poets, Percy Bysshe Shelley. From his obsession with the occult to his mysterious and tragic death, Shelley's life was packed with scandal, intrigue, and bizarre events. Get ready as we uncover 10 shocking facts about his short, dramatic life. Let's jump in. Number 10. Obsessed with the occult and haunted by hallucinations. Born into a wealthy, influential family, Shelley was expected to inherit his father's estate and his seat in the British Parliament. But even as a child, he was different. With a vivid imagination, he entertained his 5 siblings by inventing games and telling ghost stories. Yet his fascination with the supernatural went well beyond mere storytelling. From a young age, Shelley took nightly walks, often dragging his sisters along, dressed in Gothic costumes for strange, fire-lit rituals. He once came across himself trying to call the devil while in a circle of blue flames. His adventures continued at Eton College, where he engaged in unsettling pranks, like electrically shocking a teacher and even blowing up a tree. As he grew older, Shelley began to believe that a shadowy figure was following him, a hallucination that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Whether it was a manifestation of his fascination with the occult or an indication of a deeper struggle, these visions followed him everywhere, casting a shadow over his short, intense life. Stay tuned as we unravel more shocking stories from Shelley's extraordinary life. This was just the beginning. There's much more intrigue to come. Number 9. A crazy daily routine and hardly slept. After leaving Eton, Shelley enrolled at Oxford University, where he developed an intense daily regimen that bordered on the obsessive. He reportedly read for up to 16 hours a day, delving into science and philosophy. His friend Thomas Jefferson Hogg observed that Shelley could often be found reading anytime and anywhere. He would even read while walking through the bustling streets of London, lost in his books. But his day didn't end after those marathon reading sessions. Shelley supposedly slept for only half an hour each night, spending the rest of his time in study. His room was a chaotic mess, cluttered with scientific apparatus, books, clothes, and even firearms. Hogg described it as a state of primeval chaos, with scorch marks covering surfaces from his experiments. Shelley's disregard for order extended to the cleaning staff assigned to tidy his room. Ignoring their efforts, he once went so far as to administer an electric shock to one of their children. Perhaps a cruel prank, but in Shelley's world of relentless curiosity and disregard for convention, it seemed par for the course. Stick around as we continue to uncover the bizarre, sometimes shocking habits of Percy Bysshe Shelley. We're just getting started, and the next facts will reveal even more about his turbulent, fascinating life. Number 8. Expelled from Oxford University for Atheism. For a mind as fervent as Percy Bysshe Shelley's, Oxford University might have seemed like the ideal place to study. Described by William Michael Rossetti as possessing a white-hot intellectual passion, Shelley initially found the academic requirements minimal: a termly meeting with his instructor, a weekly Latin translation, and daily chapel attendance. But this last requirement posed a problem for Shelley, a passionate atheist, and it was his non-belief that ultimately led to his expulsion. During the winter break, Shelley and his friend Thomas Jefferson Hogg collaborated on a pamphlet titled The Necessity of Atheism, an audacious critique of religion. But simply writing it wasn't enough for Shelley. He sent copies to every college head at Oxford, many of whom were clergy, and even mailed it to several bishops. The pamphlet was anonymous, but the authorship quickly became an open secret. Shelley was summoned by university authorities, and when he refused to deny his involvement or renounce the pamphlet, he was promptly expelled. While it may have seemed a harsh punishment, Shelley saw his expulsion as a badge of honor, a symbol of his commitment to free thought. Ironically, over a century later, Oxford University erected a monument in his honor, recognizing the enduring impact of his work. Shelley may have been expelled, but in the end, his legacy had the final say. Number 7. Strange eating habits and a Pythagorean diet. An Oxford contemporary once joked that Shelley survived on arsenic, aqua fortis, and half an hour's sleep in the night. While he didn't actually consume arsenic regularly, despite a near-miss accident during one of his experiments, Shelley did have some peculiar dietary habits that raised eyebrows. At Oxford, he was known for his seemingly endless appetite for bread, often consuming pounds of it while wandering around town. And if that wasn't enough, he'd keep raisins in his pockets, snacking on them as he walked. Visitors who came to see him and his first wife after he left university often found themselves served nothing but penny buns, or, on some occasions, nothing at all. After graduating from Oxford, Shelley adopted what he called a Pythagorean diet, a variation of vegetarianism that took its cues from the ancient Greek philosopher Pythagoras. He passionately promoted this lifestyle in an 1813 essay, describing meat as slow but certain poison. Although he occasionally slipped and ate meat, Shelley's writing on the subject was influential enough to convert others, including George Bernard Shaw, who suggested that the diet be called Shelleyism in his honor. Number 6. Scandals almost cost him his large inheritance. As the eldest son, Percy Bysshe Shelley stood to inherit his family's estate, wealth, and a seat in Parliament. However, his radical views nearly cost him everything. After his expulsion from Oxford, his father offered to help re-enroll him, but only if Shelley would declare himself a Christian. Predictably, Shelley refused, putting him at odds with his family's expectations. Shelley's penchant for scandal didn't end there. At the age of 19, he won the affection of Harriet Westbrook, a 15-year-old who soon began sharing his extreme views, such as the belief that God was dead and laws were mere nuisances. Her father was outraged, and Harriet's friendships suffered. To rescue her, Shelley married Harriet and fled with her. Around this time, Shelley published his first notable poem, Queen Mab, which marked his arrival as a poet. As his reputation grew, Shelley gravitated toward increasingly radical circles. Eventually, he decided that Harriet was not as revolutionary as he desired, and he left her while she was pregnant with their second child. Between his estrangement from his family over his expulsion from Oxford and his desertion of Harriet, Shelley effectively severed all ties with his father. Number 5. Inspired to run away with the author of Frankenstein by her own father. Shelley initially proposed a free love union to his wife, Harriet, inspired by the radical views of philosopher William Godwin. Although Harriet rejected this notion, Shelley's fascination with Godwin's ideas remained strong. In 1814, Godwin invited Shelley to dinner, hoping the young poet might offer financial support in exchange for his mentorship. What Godwin didn't foresee was how captivated his daughters would be by their famous guest. Shelley was particularly drawn to Mary Godwin, just 16 at the time. She had been educated to follow in the philosophical footsteps of her parents, and the two quickly grew close, bonding over long walks to the grave of her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft. Before long, they fell in love, and Shelley sought Godwin's permission to pursue a relationship with Mary. To his surprise, Godwin, despite his own anti-marriage writings, was outraged and refused to allow his daughter to be with Shelley outside of a conventional marriage. Desperate, Shelley pretended to attempt suicide and even threatened to shoot himself and Mary if they couldn't be together. Mary, previously hesitant, resolved to join him, and with the help of her half-sister Claire Claremont, the couple fled to France. Mary's father disowned her, but she and Shelley continued to live according to his radical ideals, using Godwin's own writings as a guide for their unconventional relationship. This runaway romance would eventually lead to Mary writing her famous novel, Frankenstein, and to her lifelong partnership with Shelley. Stay tuned as we dive even deeper into the shocking, scandalous, and adventurous life of Percy Bysshe Shelley. The next stories reveal even more extraordinary episodes from his time with Mary and beyond. Number 4. First wife died under mysterious circumstances. In December of 1816, Percy Shelley received a letter informing him that the body of his estranged wife, Harriet, had been found in London's Serpentine River. Officially ruled a suicide, the coroner found no signs of violence, and the Times reported that her tragic decision was attributed to a lack of honor in her own conduct. Shelley had left Harriet 2 years earlier, while she was pregnant with their second child, and she had since given birth. Because Shelley and Harriet were still legally married, it would have been socially unacceptable for either to take another lover. Though shocked by the death, Shelley's response was surprisingly detached. He remarked with chilling indifference that there was little to regret. Just 3 weeks later, he married Mary Godwin, finally legitimizing their relationship and ending her estrangement from her father, William Godwin. Additionally, Shelley's marriage to Mary allowed him to receive a portion of his inheritance. While Harriet had previously expressed suicidal intentions and even left a note, rumors circulated that foul play could have been involved. Several individuals were suggested as possible suspects. Thomas Jefferson Hogg, a close friend of Shelley, had an obsessive, unrequited infatuation with Harriet. The unnamed father of her third child may have sought to avoid a scandal. And of course, William Godwin could have seen Harriet as an obstacle to the respectable union he ultimately wanted for his daughter and Shelley. Stay with us as we continue our exploration of Percy Bysshe Shelley's life, unraveling the complexities and controversies that surrounded him. The next tales reveal even more about his turbulent personal life and philosophical pursuits. Number 3. Part of an intellectual clique in Geneva called the League of Incest. After Percy Shelley, Mary Godwin, and her stepsister Claire Clairmont left England, they spent the summer of 1816 at the Villa Diodati in Switzerland with Lord Byron, a poet with a reputation as scandalous as Shelley's. Byron was infamous for his wild, unpredictable lifestyle, summed up by one lover's phrase, "mad, bad, and dangerous to know." His notoriety extended to rumored affairs, including one with his own half-sister. Rumors flew about what might be happening at the villa with this gathering of young poets and women. Observers nicknamed the group the League of Incest, and curious onlookers in Geneva even rented telescopes, hoping to catch a glimpse of the scandalous happenings within the villa. And while the rumors were exaggerated, there was some truth to the speculation. During this time, Claire became pregnant, and many believed Shelley to be the father of her child. However, Claire herself claimed that Lord Byron was the child's father, adding a layer of mystery to their relationships. Despite the mystery surrounding their personal lives, Byron's suggestion of a ghost story competition was the most significant event that summer. Mary started writing what would eventually become Frankenstein, a book that would forever alter the literary landscape as a result of this challenge. While some believe Byron inspired the character of Victor Frankenstein, others argue that Mary drew her inspiration from Percy Shelley, her passionate, sometimes reckless husband. Stay tuned as we continue our countdown, exploring even more startling aspects of Percy Shelley's life. The next stories reveal further twists in the tale of this rebellious romantic poet. Number 2. Died in a sudden storm. Although Percy Shelley couldn't swim, he and Lord Byron shared a love for sailing, often braving the unpredictable waters of the Mediterranean together. After relocating to Italy, Shelley even commissioned a yacht of his own, which he named the Don Juan, after Byron's famous poem. The waters they sailed were known for sudden violent storms, and during one such storm, Shelley reportedly accepted his fate, asking Byron not to try and save him. On that occasion, they both survived. However, on July 8, 1822, Shelley's luck ran out. While sailing the Don Juan with his friend Edward Williams, a fierce storm struck, capsizing the boat and drowning them both. Witnesses claimed to have seen one man, likely Shelley, restraining the other from lowering the sails, suggesting that he once again surrendered to the storm. Shelley's body eventually washed ashore, barely recognizable. Dogfish had damaged his face, but a book in his pocket helped to identify him. The straightforward explanation of a sudden storm was difficult for some to accept, and rumors circulated about possible foul play. Tales emerged of a fisherman's supposed deathbed confession, but no credible evidence of murder was ever uncovered. Shelley's tragic end at the age of 29 marked the conclusion of his passionate, tumultuous life, a life lived on his own terms right until the stormy end. Join us for the final story in our countdown, as we reveal the most shocking fact about Percy Bysshe Shelley's extraordinary life. Number 1. His heart did not burn and was kept by his friends for years. The story of Percy Bysshe Shelley didn't end with his death. His friends continued to wrestle over his remains in a way befitting the Romantic era's fascination with death. Lord Byron allegedly got the idea to keep Shelley's skull from a previous incident where he used a skull as a drinking cup. Instead, a funeral was held on the beach, where Shelley's wine-soaked body was cremated in an open-air pyre. Strangely, while the rest of his body turned to ash, his heart did not burn. Witnesses claimed the heart appeared to glow with a blue flame, and it emerged almost unscathed. Medical experts speculate that Shelley's heart might have calcified, making it resistant to the flames. Leigh Hunt, a close friend, took the heart and rejected Mary Shelley's initial request to keep it. Hunt preserved the heart in wine, writing poems about it before finally passing it on to Mary. Mary kept Shelley's heart wrapped in silk and carried it with her for years, a constant reminder of her lost love. However, some have suggested that the relic may not have been his heart at all. It might have been his liver, a speculation based on a 19th-century essay that noted a waterlogged liver would be more resistant to flames. Regardless of the mystery, Shelley's heart, or liver, was ultimately buried with Mary's remains, a final tribute to a life marked by passion, scandal, and undying love. Thank you for tuning in to Next Chapter Audio. If you enjoyed learning about the incredible life of Percy Bysshe Shelley, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more intriguing stories from history. Drop a comment below about which fact surprised you the most. We'll see you next time with another chapter from the past. Stay curious!